Okay, so kule video sizokwenza questions with trigonometry, right? So this is sort of like an intro to chapter a trigonometry, right? So now for this video, the key to solving these questions is to know special angles bese wazi nama-reduction formula, and then the key to understanding reduction formula is to know a cast diagram, right? So a cast diagram is that one which will tell you what in which quadrant is each ratio positive. So we know what the first quadrant all the ratios are positive, and then the second quadrant sine is positive, third quadrant tan is positive, and then the fourth quadrant cos is positive, right? So this is the cast diagram, right? And then we know what okay first quadrant, our angle theta will be between 0 and 90 degrees, and then second quadrant it will be between 90 and 180, and then third it will be between 180 and 270, and then fourth it will be between 270 and 360. Okay, so if you have a terminal arm, the angle theta will be that angle between that terminal arm and the x-axis, right? And then when you move this anti-clockwise, you will be measuring the angle theta. So because at some point as you move this terminal arm clockwise, theta will be greater than 90 degrees, meaning theta will no longer be an acute angle. So to make sure that we are always dealing with acute angles, we use reduction formula like this, right? So depending on the quadrant that you are in, you'll say, okay, let's say we are in the second quadrant, we'll say our angle will be between 90 and 180. So our reduction formula will sort of be like 180 minus theta, and then third quadrant will have 180 plus theta, fourth quadrant will have 360 plus theta, and so on, right? And then when you're using 90 and 270, you will be referring to the cofunctions. So if you say 90 plus theta, then let's say if you say cos 90 plus theta, that will change to minus sine theta, because cos and sine are cofunctions, right? But then we'll talk more about those. Let us do this activity. Okay, so this is an intro to trigonometry. So these questions should be like fairly straightforward. If you are struggling, pay some attention, okay, and see how I solve, right? So question one, but without using a calculator, determine the value of these trigonometric ratios. So nobody without using a calculator, it means you'll have to know your special angles, right? So if ufunwazi ama special angles, memorize these two triangles that I will draw for you here. So we will have two right angled triangles with special angles, right? So we'll have a right angle, and we'll have 30 degrees here, and then we'll have 60 degrees here, right? And then when you press sine 30, suppose you are in an exam and then you don't remember ukuthi ma triangle lawa ahlenjani, if you press sine 30, uzobona ukuthi sine is equals to sine 30 is equals to 1/2, right? Because when now you know ukuthi sine is equals to opposite over hypotenuse, when you use SOHCAHTOA, you'll know what sine is equals to opposite over hypotenuse. And if you say sine 30 and then you get 1/2, this is opposite over hypotenuse. So the opposite side will be 1, the hypotenuse will be 2. And then you can solve for the third side using a theorem of Pythagoras. And when you solve, you'll see what this third side is equals to the square root of 3, right? And then once you memorize this triangle, you will be able to remember my special angles wako. And then the other right angle triangle that you will need to memorize ilena 45 degrees as our special angle, 45 root 3. So with this one you'll use tan theta. If you say tan 45 ku calculator yakho uzobona ukuthi that will be opposite over hypotenuse, it will be 1 over 1. Sorry, opposite over adjacent. So if you say tan 45 uzothola ukuthi it's 1. So you'll say it's 1 over 1. So it's opposite over adjacent, right? And then when you use theorem of Pythagoras to solve for the hypotenuse, so to look this hypotenuse is the square root of 3, right? So memorize these two triangles for our special angles. Okay, so now but without using a calculator, determine the value of cos 150. So cos 150 is the same as saying cos 180 minus 30. 180 minus 30 is 150, right? So now I want to apply my reduction formula. So I want to reduce this angle to 30 degrees. So I know what 180 minus 30 is the same as saying 150, right? So 180 minus 30 is in the second quadrant. So it's 180 minus 30. So theta there is in the second quadrant. So now we know what from a cast diagram in the second quadrant cos is negative. So here we'll have minus cos 30. Okay, and then go to your triangles there. 30 is a special angle. So if you say cos 30, we know what according to Sokotowa cos is adjacent over hypotenuse. So if you say cos 30, you'll have adjacent, which is root 3, over hypotenuse, which is 2. So this will be equals to minus the square root of 3 over 2, right? And then siyadlula siya ku number 2, sine of minus 45 degrees. So negative angles, they mean you are moving the terminal arm clockwise. So when you are moving this terminal anti-clockwise, you are measuring positive angles. But then if you are moving it clockwise, you will be having a negative angle. So from the first quadrant, if you start at 0, okay, I think so from the first quadrant, if you start at 0 and move 45 degrees clockwise, you land go fourth quadrant, and we know what the fourth quadrant sine is negative, so this will be negative sine 45. Okay, and then go to your special triangles. Sine 45 is opposite over hypotenuse, so it's opposite 1 over hypotenuse square root of 2, so this is 1 minus 1 over root 2. Okay, and then number 3, tan 480. We see what 480 is greater than 360, right? So if you say 480 minus 360, go calculator yakho uzothola ukuthi that's equals to 120, right? So the way to understand this is to go to your Cartesian plane. So if you're moving 360 degrees clockwise, you'll start from 0, and then it's a complete cycle. This is 360 ish. Things are moved to kakuhle. Hey, when's it moved to straight on this thing? So let's say you start from 0 and then you're moving 360 degrees anti-clockwise. So here you are at 90, here you are at 180, here you are at 270, and then a complete cycle 360 degrees, right? So ngithe calculator yakho if uthi 480 minus 360 uzothola ukuthi it's 180. sorry, it's 120. So after you have completed a cycle at 360 degrees, you'll start again and measure 120 degrees. Okay, so from after you have moved 360 degrees, you'll be back at 0 again, ne? So uzoti, this is 90, and then you are on the second quadrant now. This is 90, and then 90 120 minus 90 is 30 degrees. So this is 30 degrees between this is the angle. This angle is 30 degrees between the y-axis and the terminal arm, right? So we know what the angle between the x-axis and the terminal arm is our reference angle theta, right? So if you say 90 minus 30, uzothola ukuthi that's 60. So 480 should be equivalent to 180 minus 60, right? So if we tan 480, uzothola that's minus root 3, and then if we tan minus tan 60, uzothola that's minus root 3. So into engizama ukuyichaza lana ukuthi 480 is the same as having an angle of 60 degrees in the second quadrant. I don't know if that makes sense, but then try to think of it this way. 480 degrees, rotate a terminal arm from 0 degrees, then complete a cycle at 360. After you've completed that cycle, move 120 degrees, uzobona ukuthi you will land go second quadrant, right? And then the angle between the terminal arm and the y-axis will be 30 degrees. Now because we see as the angle between y-axis and the x-axis is 90 degrees, uzothi 90 minus 30 ukuthola this angle, which will be 60 degrees, right? So this is the same. 480 is the same as saying tan 180 minus 60, because there's tan negative the second quadrant will have minus tan 60 here. Okay, and then now we have special triangle circle. If you say tan 60, you'll have opposite over adjacent. That's minus root 3 over 1, which is the same as root 3 minus root 3. Okay, and then you are done. I send an example. Okay, so but you write down the trig ratios as the trig ratios of their cofunctions. Right, so write them as their cofunctions. So essentially the trigonometric ratio sine and cos are cofunctions, right? So if you're saying cos 90 plus theta, this is the same as saying minus sine theta, right? Because if you look at the Cartesian plane, 90 0 180, right? And then we have our reference angle theta here, right? So if you're saying 90 plus theta, sizoba ku second quadrant, right? And then ku second quadrant cos is negative, which is why I have minus there. So I want to find a way of explaining why it tends to sine theta, but then I can't think of anything now. So but then just keep this in mind. If you're saying cos 90 plus theta, it's the same as saying minus sine theta. And if you're saying cos 90 minus theta, is the same as saying sine theta, because 90 minus theta is first quadrant, and first quadrant all the trigonometric ratios are positive. Okay, so again, so if you saying sine 90 plus theta, so 90 plus theta is second quadrant sine is positive, and then because sine and cos are co-functions, sine 90 plus theta will be the same as cos theta. And then if you say sine 90 minus theta, this will be the same as saying cos theta again. Okay, so if ufuna ukuyitesta, maybe try go calculator yakho and choose an angle. Let's say theta is 30 degrees. So 90 plus 30 is equals to 120. If you say cos 120, that's minus 1 over 2, right? And then if you say minus sine 30, that's minus 1 over 2. So let's say theta is equals to 30 degrees. And then says 90 plus theta is equals to 120. And then if you say cos 90 plus theta, which is 120, local calculator, this is minus 1 over 2. And then if you say minus sine 30, still this is minus 1 over 2. That's what we mean by co-functions. I can't think of a better way to explain it, but then if we get taller, I will record another video. Okay, so let's beginning exercise. So write the trig ratios as the trig ratios of their co-functions. So number 1, sine 50 is the same as saying sine, right? So 90 minus 50 is 40. So sine 50 is the same as saying 90 minus 40. Okay, and then 90 minus 40, you first quadrant. So first quadrant, all ratios are positive. So last is 1 cos 40, right? And then to prove this, you will calculate yakho press sine 50, uzothola ukuthi it's 0.766. So sine 50 calculator is 0.766, and then it cos 40, uzothola ukuthi cos 40 is 0.766 right? 0.766. So these are co-functions. Number 2, cos 70 is the same as saying cos 90 minus 20. 90 minus 20, first quadrant cos is positive. So this will be sine 20. Again, go calculator yakho ifuthi cos 70, uthola ukuthi it's 0.342, and then if to sine 20, it's 0.342. Therefore these are co-functions. And then siyadlula number 3, sine 100 is the same as saying sine 90 plus 10, and then 90 plus 10 second quadrant sine is positive, so sine 90 plus 10 is the same as saying cos 10. Okay, right? So again, to test, it is sine 100 ku calculator yakho uzothola ukuthi it's 0.984, and then if uthi cos 10 uzothola ukuthi it's 0.984 also. So these are co-functions. That ruler, and then say we cos 140, and then so cos 140, it's greater than, sorry, if uthi 140 minus 90 uzothola ukuthi that's 50. So cos 140 is the same as saying cos 90 plus 50, right? 90 plus 50 is 140. So 90 plus 50 equals second quadrant. Second quadrant cos is negative. So 90 plus 50 is the same as saying sine minus sine 50. Right? So to prove this, I will calculate I will press cos 140. So to look at it's minus 0.766. And then we will press minus sine 50. So to look at it's minus 0.766. Therefore, these are cofunctions. And then we are done. Siyadlula, going to another exercise. So, okay, let me copy the first one first. So, Lanavati simplify without using a calculator. So, meaning you will apply reduction formula plus special angles. Okay. So simplify without using a calculator. So lama question la waso wana marks amaningi. Make sure ukuthi you understand. Okay, so first question, sinosan 180 plus theta. So if you break it down, siyazi ukuthi 180 plus siku second quadrant. Second quadrant sign is positive. So if we say sine 180 plus theta, it will be the same, sorry, sine 180 plus x, not theta. It's the same as saying sine x, right? So these are reduction formulas. And then if you say cos 330, this is the same as saying cos 360 minus 30. 360 minus 30 is the same as 330, right? And then if you say tan 150, this is the same as saying 180 minus 30. 180 minus 30 is equals to 150, which is why 180 minus 30 instead of 150. Okay, and then divide with sine x, right? And then say with this sine x and that sine x will cancel, will remain with cos 360 minus 30 times tan 180 minus 30. Okay, so cos 360 minus 30, 360 minus 30 sigu fourth quadrant. Fourth quadrant cos is positive, so 360 minus 1 minus 30 is the same as saying cos 30. Okay, and then tan 180 minus 30, 180 minus 30 sigu second quadrant. Second quadrant tan is negative, so this is minus tan 30. Okay, so 30 degrees is a special angle, so you'll have to remember triangle layer. 30, 60, 90. Sine 30 is equals to 1 over 2 opposite over hypotenuse, and then minus no square root of 3. So now if I say cos 30, it's adjacent over hypotenuse, so this will be the square root of 3 divided by 2. And then tan 30 minus tan 30. Okay, tan 30 is opposite over adjacent, so that's minus 1 over the square root of 3. Okay, so the square root of 3 and the square root of 3 will cancel. We'll have minus 1 over 2. And then you get your 4 marks, right? So yeah, and then set ruler. Next question. Next question. Okay, let me just check. The time gives a mistake. Okay, so rule, I think everything is fine. Yeah. Okay. Then question 2. Okay, so question 2, same thing. We use reduction formula and special angles. So lapha sino cos 750. So cos 750, you'll have to see how many revolutions are there or how many cycles are there. So if you say 750 divide by 360, so it's 2.08. So there are there's 2 cycles there. And then okay, so sifuna ukubona ukuthi 750 degrees usibeka ku quadrant number 1, right? So sizothoma ku first quadrant and move 360 degrees anti-clockwise, right? So siku 90, siku 180, siku 270, siku 360, right? And then if we see 750 minus 360, sisele 390 degrees. Okay, so manje sesifuna ukumove at 390 degrees. So manje we start from 0 again. Siku 90, siku 180, siku 270, siku 360, right? And then if you take 390 minus 360, uselele 30 degrees. And then from here we move 30 degrees up. So 370 750, sorry, usibeka ku first quadrant. So 700 cos 750 is the same as saying cos 30. If ungayikhola ithi cos 750 ku calculator yakho, uzobona ukuthi it's equals to the square root of 3 over 2, and then ubuye uthi cos 30, it's also equals to the square root of 3 over 2. Okay, and then tan 315. So if we take 360 minus 45, that's equals to 315. So tan 315 is the same as saying tan 360 minus 45. And then we have cos minus theta, assuming uthi theta is an acute angle, izosinikela cos theta. Okay, because ama negative angles asho ukuthi we are moving clockwise. So if we move 30 theta degrees clockwise, izosibeka ku fourth quadrant, assuming ukuthi theta is an acute angle. So siyazi ukuthi fourth quadrant usine cos positive. Okay, and then siya ku denominator. So cos 360 minus theta is the same as saying cos theta, right? And then sine 300 is the same as saying sine 360 minus 60. 360 minus 60 is 300. And then sine 180 minus theta is the same as saying 180 minus theta, so second quadrant sine is positive, so it's the same as saying sine theta. Okay, so siyabona ukuthi that cos and that cos will cancel, and then siyaku special triangle yethu, sino 30, sino 60, sino 90. Cos sine 30 is 1 over 2, and then the third side is root 3. So cos 30 will be root 3 over 2 adjacent over hypotenuse. So it's root 3 over 2 times tan 45, 360 minus 45, tan 360 minus 45, sigu fourth quadrant, tan is negative, so ngizoba no minus tan 45. Okay, and then divide by 360 minus 60 is sine 360 minus 60. So 360 minus 60 is fourth quadrant, sine is negative, so sizoba no minus sine 60. Okay, minus sine 60 times sine theta, right? And then sino root 3 over 2 times minus tan 45. So another special triangle ile 45 degrees, 45, 45, 90, tan 45 is 1 over 1, and then lana sino root 2. So tan 45 is 1 minus 1 lana, and then sine 60, it's opposite over hypotenuse, it's root 3 over 2. So sizobano minus root 3 over 2, and then lana sizobano sine theta multiplied by sine theta, right? Root 3 over 2 and root 3 over 2 will cancel, minus and minus will cancel, so our answer will be my 1 over sine theta. Okay, it's minus 1 over sine theta. Right, and then siyadlula siya ku question 3. Okay, question 3, same thing. We're using reduction formula in special angles. Right, so you know tan 408, again 480 is greater than 360, so mele sibone ukuthi 480 usibeka kuyiphi quadrant. Right, so first we will need to move 360 degrees anti-clockwise. So starting from 0, siku 90, siku 180, siku 270, siku 360. So cycle 1 is complete. So if we 480 minus 360, sizobona ukuthi this is 120. So mele sibone ukuthi 120 usibeka aphi. So starting from 0, sifuna move 120 degrees anti-clockwise. So it's 90, and then 120 minus 90, so we have 30 degrees left. So from here we'll need to move 30 degrees. So siyabona ukuthi 120 usibeka ku second quadrant, meaning overall 480 degrees usibeka ku second quadrant, and second quadrant siyazi ukuthi utan negative. So excuse me, so this angle between the terminal arm and the y-axis is 30 degrees, and then this angle, the angle between the x-axis and the y-axis is 90. So if we sit in 90 minus 30, sizothola ukuthi it's 60 degrees. So meaning tan 480 is the same as saying minus tan 60 degrees. If ungayikhola calculator, tan 480 is equals to minus root 3, and then uthi minus tan 60, it's minus root 3 also. So this is true. Okay, and then see sine 300. Sine 300 should be the same as saying 360 minus 60 multiplied by cos 14 degrees. To create space. Okay, and then minus sine 135, it's the same as saying minus sine 135, sorry, it's the same as saying minus sine 135. Okay, and then 135 is the same as saying sine 180 minus 45, right? So lana ngenza ama steps ayi-2 step esi-1. So step 1, sine minus 135 is equals to minus sine 135. Okay, and then sine 135 is the same as saying sine 180 minus 45. right? 180 minus 45 is 135. Okay, so confuse lena, and then siya ku denominator. Ish. Then denominator sino sine 104. Okay, let me write it as sine 104 for now, and then sino cos 225. So 225 equal third quadrant, so it's 180 plus some angle. If we get 225 minus 180, it's 45. So if we get cos, so cos 225 is the same as saying cos 180 plus 45 degrees, right? And then sinama special angle up, right? So shuguti, we need to draw our special triangles: 60, 30, 90, 1 over 2 root 3, and then another one is 45, 45, 90, 1, 1 root 2. Ma triangle lawa vele kumele wa memorize ukuthi ama special angle ukhona wa calculate. Okay, so minus tan 60. If usiya ku special triangle yethu siyabona ukuthi tan 60 is opposite over adjacent, so sizoba no minus root 3. And then 360 minus 60, sigo fourth quadrant. Fourth quadrant sign is negative, so sizoba no minus sine 60, right? And then 180 minus 45, sigo second quadrant. Second quadrant sign is positive, but then we have a negative sign in front of sign, and then sizoba no minus sine 45, right? And then denominator, oh sorry, the same question, no, cos 14 zombala, cos 14 degrees. Okay, so and then lana sino sine 904, right? And then sino cos 180 plus 45. 180 plus 45 usibeka ku third quadrant. Third quadrant cos is negative, so this will be minus cos 45, right? So now let's apply my special angles. So lana sino minus root 3 times sine 60 ku special triangle. 60 is opposite over hypotenuse, so it's root 3 over 2, so it's over no minus root 3 over 2. Sine 45 special triangle, 45 opposite over hypotenuse, so it's minus 1 over root 2. And then so we're going to cos 14 degrees, so we're going to sine 104 times minus cos 45. Cos 45 adjacent over hypotenuse, so it's minus 1 over root 2. So minus 1 over root 2 and minus 1 over root 2 will cancel. This positive sign and that positive sign will give us, sorry, this negative and that negative will give us a positive sign. So root 3 times root 3 is equals to 3, and then we divide by 2, and then times cos 14 degrees, all divided by sine 104. So now we will need to reduce sine 104 and cos 14. So cos 14, I'll write it as a co-function. So if I say 90 minus 14, it's equals to 76. So I'll write 14 as 90 minus 76, 3 over 2. Cos 14 is the same as saying cos 90 minus 76, because 90 minus 76 is 14. And then sine 104, if I say 180 minus 104, it's 76. So I will write sine 104 as 180 minus 76. Okay, so this will be equals to 3 over 2 times cos 180 minus 76 is a cofunction of sine, so this will be the same as saying sine 76, right? And then sine 180 minus 76 will be the same as saying sine 76. So these two will cancel, sizosala no 3 over 2, and then you get your 9 marks, right? Last question. Okay, so last question, still we apply reduction formula in special angles. So cos 260, so 260 third quadrant, so if I say 260 minus 180, that's 80. So cos 260 is the same as saying cos 180 plus 80 degrees, right? Sorry. And then cos 170 is the same as saying cos 180 minus 10, right? And then sine 10 is just sine 10 for now. Sine 180 will be the same as saying sine 190 will be the same as saying sine 180 plus 10, right? And then cos 350 will be the same as saying cos 360 minus 10. Okay, and then cos 180 plus 80, 180 plus, so you go third quadrant cos is negative, so this will be minus cos 80. Okay, cos 80 minus cos 80. And then cos 180 minus 10, 180 minus 10 is second quadrant cos is negative, so lana sizoba no minus cos 10. Okay, and then lana sizoba no sin 10, and then sizoba no sin 180 plus is third quadrant sign is negative, so lana sizoba no minus sin 10, right? 360 minus 10 uzosibeka fourth quadrant cos is positive, so lana sizoba no cos 10. Okay, so minus cos 10 and cos 10 will give us minus 1. Okay, and then minus 1 times minus 1 here will give us positive, so lapha ku numerator sizosala no cos 80. Okay, and then lana sizoba no minus sin 10 times sin 10. Okay, and then cos 80 can be written as cos 90 minus 10, right? Then lapha still sino sin 10, sizo minus sin 10 times sin 10, right? Cos 90 minus 10 equal first quadrant, but then first quadrant cos is positive, but then 90 minus is a co-function of sine, so this will be the same as saying sine 10. Sesikhulumile ngama co-functions, I hope you can follow. So denominator still sino minus sine 10 times sine 10. So sine 10 no sine 10 will cancel, sizosala no minus 1 over sine 10, and then you get your 7 marks. So yeah, we will end it here with a video. I hope when you understand. So this is just introduction and revision at trigonometry, right? Listen to Fuzengabu from grade 11. So but then still this are counter towards the final exam yakho yaka metric, so make sure ukuthi uyazazi still, right? It's like 3 marks. I want my question lawa like anama marks amaning just by applying reduction formula nama special angles. So special angles, make sure ukuthi these two triangles you memorize: 60, 30, 90, 1 over 2 root 3, and then the enye it's 45, 45 root 2 1 1 90. So whenever you hear what to calculate or simplify without using a calculator, think of these special triangles, right? And then if you say sine 60 uzoba no root 3 over 2, sine 30 1 over 2, jalo njalo jalo njalo, with the nalawa amanye ama trigonometric ratios, right? So uzosebenzisa usokhathowa kula ma triangle lawo, right? So khathowa will apply kula ma triangle lawo. So siyazi ukuthi sine is opposite over hypotenuse, cos is adjacent over hypotenuse, tan is opposite over adjacent. So now nama special angles, apply usokhathowa kula ma triangle lawo ayi-2, and then you will get like correct answers. Ne? Yeah, so make sure that you revise my reduction formula, special angles, and then was in a cast diagram ukuthi first quadrant all ratios are positive, second quadrant sine is positive, third quadrant tan is positive, fourth quadrant cos is positive, right? Cast diagram, this is important. Okay, yeah, we'll revise your grade 11 and then make sure what you can apply reduction formula, no cast diagram, no special angles. Okay, so yeah, we'll stop here for now.